Well, hello. Happy Thursday. I believe it is. Yeah, Goose and I are pretty high on Jack in the Box right now. Those are the best fries. They were really good. And usually,
they were very good.
Usually McDonald's is it. That's it. They're the only choice for fast food fries. Now, if you want really good fries that are, like cooked right there on the spot and all that, you got to go over to Woolworths. Sit at the, they season them right. It's good stuff. But I don't eat starch, so you didn't hear any of this. All right, welcome. My name is Inga. Glad to be with you today. But I don't eat starch, but I do eat ranch dressing and ketchup. And, you got to have something to go with your ranch and your ketchup, thus the fries. So, see, they're just a vehicle. They're just a vehicle, like bread is to deliver butter to your mouth. So anyway, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here today. Look forward to talking at you. I'd rather talk with you, but I am talking at you, and then you can chime in. How do people do that? Do they just go to Facebook?
They go to the Crewcast Facebook page. They find your lovely face on the screen.
Oh, it's...
and then they just leave a comment.
My lovely face on the screen. That reminds me of a commercial. Have you seen I know a lot of you people, especially you younger people, you watch things online now, so you don't see a lot of commercials. But if you see, I want to set up a Facebook page that's called Commercials I Wish They'd Have Asked Me About First. Have you seen the one for care.com, I think it's called? Where the little girl is talking about how her parents can't play with her because they're so busy cleaning the house. Okay, she's they're naturally made or something. She has no dimples. She physically does not have dimples. The commercial drives me nuts every time I see it. All right, again, welcome to the show. I want to say to both Arvin, which has banned future drilling of oil, and to Santa Barbara, which has made it criminal to have a plastic straw, that both Goose and I are admittedly using plastic straws today. What does that have to do with Arvin and oil? This is a petroleum product. This is a petroleum product. And I drove in my car, which I believe is made out of a petroleum product. Dirtiest my car's ever been. It is so dirty because it's so hot, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I just today looked at it and went, man, that thing could use a bath, but I don't care. Anyway, I got compliments on it today though. Three different people complimented the Jeep. I don't know why, because it's cool. Anyway, drove in my Jeep with tires made out of a petroleum product to Jack in the Box, where I got both of us a lovely meal that I'm smelling and staring at, and these plastic straws. And thank you to the oil industry for making the container in which my ranch came. Right? What else? What else can we say? The Jeep, the tires. Oh, thank you, oil industry, for my Coach shoes that match my Coach purse. All right. Anyway, I welcome you to the show, and this drink's on me. This is water and a little bit of lemonade and ice through a plastic straw. All right, kids, I went to a funeral today, and, this show isn't about me, it's about you, but because you can't call, I get to talk. And it was interesting because I have these girlfriends, some of whom I've had since kindergarten, day one. And we went through elementary, junior high, and high school together. And some of us even went to college together. It's one of the nice, I guess, perks of living in Bakersfield. I don't know if that happens a lot in this world anymore, but we're still friends. In fact, one of us put together, not me, organized the high school reunions. And she doesn't do it anymore. She quit doing it at the 20 year. And it's because we pretty much see everybody we want to see. They're at the table at lunch. We have lunch together. But there are others who I love dearly and run into. But anyway, one of them who I've known since kindergarten day one, her mother passed away in the last couple of days. And there we all were in a line, all of us girls from childhood together, sitting in a pew at this service, you know. And it's funny what you don't know about people. That she was an artist. This woman laid her own brick floor. She laid her own brick floor. She sewed, she knitted, she painted, and it makes sense. It all comes together because my girlfriend, who I grew up with, I've known her since I was 4 years old. I know she has a sewing room, and I know she's personally painted her own interior, and her sister did too, painted her part of her interior. Incredibly creative person. And you see that, you know, how that's passed down. Anyway, it was great. I was happy to know that she was a woman of faith. That I did not know. And anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge Judy Calderwood because I never knew her first name. She was always Mrs. Calderwood. But she passed away. And the last time I saw her, I knew her immediately because I've known her since I was 4. And it was at Costco, and I walked over to say hello and to visit with her. And she was not there. She didn't know who I was. She didn't recognize. She thought I was somebody else. She was talking about things that didn't make sense. And then her husband came up. He just left her for a moment. And that's when I realized she had Alzheimer's at 70. And so anyway, the stories that people told about her were just wonderful. Her husband, Cliff, the stories he told about her were beautiful. You know, those are those times when sometimes you sit there and you go, okay, kids, let's move the show along. And then there are times when you see the sincerity in people who are sharing how much they loved somebody, you know, and you go, wait a minute, this isn't about me, this is about them. I'm going to sit here and take mental notes. And just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If you can say wonderful about a funeral. And so I just wanted to acknowledge Judy Calderwood and her daughters, all 3 of them, who I grew up with. So anyway, have you ever eulogized somebody, Goose?
No.
Like stood up at a funeral?
Well, I've stood up at a funeral.
And said something?
Yeah, I was at... when I went to my father-in-law's funeral, they asked us to say something, and
that's harder than people think.
Yeah, I actually, me being in theater, I like rehearsed,
sure,
and
yeah.
rehearsed and
And
rehearsed
you
for
go
like
over and over in it, yeah.
over and over, and that exactly what I wanted to say, and have the dramatic pause in the right spot, and I know it sounds cheesy now. People say, "Oh my God, she's just acting," but no, I had to go up there, and I'm not the kind of person that writes a speech.
No, artistic people, right-brain people are worse because they're tormented souls. They're always tormented souls. They're this far from chopping off their ears, Van Gogh style, any moment. And so delivering a eulogy can be very, very difficult. My grandfather died in, I want to say it was April. No, it was March, and of 2002. And I was asked, because I speak for a living, to do the eulogy. I did the eulogy. It was 3 minutes or so. I didn't go long because my philosophy is the people on the stage are having more fun than the people in the audience. So, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. And I did such a fantastic job of eulogizing my grandfather that when my grandmother died that December of the same year, a week before Christmas, and we had her funeral, they said, could you just be the only person who eulogizes her? Could you just do it for us? And I said, well, of course it would be a privilege. I couldn't get a word out. you ever heard a eulogy where somebody talking where they're going,
Yeah.
grandmothers are wonderful people. So any old way, it was a day to be somber with those people who, we went through puberty together. We went through first dates together. We dated each other's exes on occasion. We went to each other's weddings. We went to each other's, we know each other's babies, and now here we are sitting there in a pew together, knowing that we're going to see this all the way through until there's fewer of us too someday, So it's been an introspective day, if you don't mind. And one of the things that happened earlier this morning, plastic straw, I need it. One of the things that happened earlier today was I had to go to a public building for some family business. And I'm sitting in that public building and it is so hot. You think it's hot outside? No, it's hot inside. Thinking about heat is hot. And so I'm sitting there and there's all these people and they're waiting to be served or treated or whatever. And I went like this. And people were staring.
I have to show this to you.
Okay. Oh, it's green. Oh, Coolio. It kind of shows up and doesn't show up at the same time. But the thing was that I loved was people looked at me two ways at the same time. Like, you're kidding. People still use fans when they're not at a African American church. And B, they were jealous, every single one of them. Cost Plus Imports on Rosedale Highway, they sell them cheap, and it feels fantastic. And I don't know, there's that theory that we were always taught when we were kids, that if you, that the fanning itself makes you hot, but I feel great right now. So anyway, just thought I'd share, get yourself a fan. Men, maybe not, might look a little, nowadays, what matter? All right, a couple of stories in the news today that we have to get through. I know that Denise had did she have Couch on last night? Did he show up, or was he a terrible loser?
No, we come to find out after she had booked him that he was actually at a funeral.
Oh my!
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dave.
He said that if he had a chance, he'd call in, but she was prepared. She had a show, and she basically said that when he would be available, she would try to get him in and talk to him about the budget vote.
He's a great guy, and I appreciate that he voted against putting the ballot measure, the tax increase, on the ballot. And I know there are people who think, well, it should be on the ballot. We should be voting on these things. And I agree. In philosophy, I agree. But then there's this part of me that always says, same with the weed, same with whatever else. There's a part of me that says, didn't I elect you to do all this work so that I could do my own job? Do you want a tax increase or not? If you do, just vote on it. Just vote on it, and then we'll vote you out of office if we don't like the way you voted. But public servants don't operate that way anymore. But anyway, Couch is a great guy. He's up for re-election, a real fight for him. Because his district has shifted to a different demographic. Now, the demographic that it has shifted to is not majority, but is heavily Hispanic. And this is just, it continues to be one of these things that just drives me up the wall. How on earth does the color of your skin affect the way you vote? I have never voted for somebody because they had the same skin color as I did. That's so ridiculous. It's so juvenile. I can't believe we actually had a lawsuit over this from MalDef. It just doesn't make sense to me. If Dave Couch, or actually for some of those places that he's inherited, it was McGleason. But if they can't help you, then come to the public. Tell us that they're terrible people and they won't represent you because you're a different skin color and you feel underrepresented. But all this silliness and this political correctness, I can't take much more of it. And so anyway, thank you to Dave Couch for voting against putting it on the ballot, because really, it's your job. It's your job. And so, but some of you, want the opportunity to vote. The last time that I had the opportunity to vote on something local, it was a bond measure that a lot of people pushed. It was $500 million or something like that for the junior colleges, for the college, Kern County or Kern College District or whatever it's called. And I voted against it because it was going to increase the taxes on my house. And it did. It has. Because the majority of people said, oh, I love colleges. I saw a post the other day by a precious friend who I have no issues with or ill thoughts toward, but they said something like, we need this tax increase. We need these libraries. I was like, we do? Really? Because every school in Bakersfield and Kern County has a library. Every junior college has a library. Every college has a library. And their argument was, how are people supposed to access internet? I don't think the internet is a right. If it were, I wouldn't be paying for it. They can't college students who can't afford books. Oh boy, did I go through that. That was one of the other arguments. College students who can't afford books. Well, there's only so many copies in the library. And trust me, the way that the books are reprinted, you went to school, the way that they're reprinted so that the manufacturers or the publishers make more money for the new edition, right? Mm-hmm. So I used to take my books that I could afford, and at the end of the quarter, we were on the quarter system then at Cal State, at the end of the quarter, I gave it to the professor because I just knew somebody can't afford this book. And one of my professors said to me, this is going to be outdated by next year. Because they changed an A to an O. They put an X in the place of all of the feminine and masculine terminology. Stuff like that.
Well, I actually had a nice little trick, and that is that if I could find my textbook on Amazon, I would put it on my tablet, so I didn't have to carry all these books everywhere. Solomon
rented. He did that online, rented books. But that's smart. Now, in my day, you had a tape recorder. Like, it looked like a tape recorder. It had all the things that you push down that said, and an actual cassette tape, and I recorded my lectures because I couldn't afford the books. And I learned, I think my first quarter out of Cal State, that the teachers or the professors are pretty much lecturing the same thing every quarter for the last 20 years. And so I just took copious notes. I took notes so well, people borrowed my notes to copy them. And people with disabilities asked me to take notes for them, which I did. And I got A's without buying some of the books. I just couldn't.
Yeah, some professors won't allow you to do that anymore.
Really?
Yeah, they won't allow you to record. You have to get permission
to record
it.
Okay, I can still take notes better than any of them.
And that was the key.
That was the key, because when I wrote it down, it was just how I learned scripts too. When I was in drama, you write it down, you visually see it in your head. It didn't work for algebra, however. Did not work for algebra. So but it worked for a lot of other things. So anyway, I don't know where I was going on that. Oh, Dave Couch good, voters sometimes bad. We vote. Nowadays, we used to vote with our pocketbooks, and now people tend to vote with their hearts. And hearts are very expensive. So, any old way, I just wanted to comment on that.
I had heard he made a statement saying that he voted no because he a burden to the people in his district. It would cost them $400 more a year.
Well, he's now representing cities that are, unincorporated, that are, they're in the county, but they pay higher taxes than we do in Bakersfield. It's ridiculous. If somebody from Delano comes to Bakersfield to buy a car, they have to pay Delano's sales tax. Did you know that? Yeah, don't ever buy a car in LA or San Francisco. I think that would be my tip. But yeah, and we're talking about people who, generally speaking, the demographics in some of these areas that Couch has inherited are not wealthy people. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, $400 can make a huge difference.
Yes.
Because I would know.
I would too. Trust me. And so, and you know, as I've said ad nauseum, and I apologize for being ad nauseum on it, but as I've said many times before, that's on top of. You know, you're still paying for parks. You're still paying for that bike path you voted for. You're still paying for water you're not getting. You're still paying for roads that haven't been built. You're still paying for a train that will never, ever, ever, ever. Because by the time that flippin' train is built, it's going to be outdated.
Well, I don't even think it'll ever be built.
I don't think so either. The Tehachapi's are going to be a big problem for these people. Plus, did you know that the way that the proposition was written, they have to slow down when they're in livable communities, or communities where people are living. So the bullet train won't go 200 whatever miles an hour. It probably won't anyway. But it has to slow down every time it hits a city. Now, I think about just from Fresno to Bakersfield. I used to drive that a lot, or from Fresno to Arvin for that matter. And they're going to have to slow down an awful lot. Through Fresno, through Tulare County, through Kings County, through Kern County, you know. They're going to be slow all the time. And you're going to pay for it until you die. Boy, Inga, you're a bummer today. I'm rambling today. You know what I did? I went over to my parents' house this afternoon. Funny thing about funerals, you long for your family. And so I went over to visit my folks and my brother, who's looking great. He's looking really good. He has he's been treated for a tumor on his brain, his hips, his legs, his arm, his back. And now they're checking his lungs tomorrow, so hopefully that will all go well. But it's good just to drop by just for a few minutes, get a little whiff of your home where you grew up and all that good stuff. And my dad was watching. He's a school teacher, so he's on vacation. He was watching the Tour de France. What a boring.
Is it boring?
It is so boring. The late Michael Barks used to record it, and he'd just sit there and do it. And I'm like, I don't get it. These guys are all riding so close to each other that I'm stressed out. They're going on all these swervy, curvy curves. I actually got car sick watching it because my parents have a huge TV. But then I found out why my dad watches it. You know why my dad watches it? Incredible history. They show dungeons, which is what they call them in France. In London, they call them keeps. They had 13th century buildings that these guys are riding past. And that's when you go, oh, okay, those spires are pretty awesome. You know, the fact that they survived.
Yeah, my late mother liked to record the NASCAR races.
Oh, no, Michael Barks did too. And when I worked in Fresno at KMJ, they used to play them on the radio. And it was a slow drive to church every Sunday. You're like, hold on. I'm like, when we get out, they'll still be going like this.
It's actually funny because there were a couple times when I was watching the race and I'd fall asleep.
Yeah.
And 2 hours later, I'd wake up and nothing happened.
Yeah. Because you're waiting for the wreck. It's, the hockey game, you're waiting for the fight. And but my dad watches NASCAR as well. It's all sports all the time. And so anyway, what I learned was, though, in the case of the Tour de France, he digs the architecture. And so, all right, sounds good. The California Living Museum is going to have the annual Ice Cream Zoofari from 4:30 to 7:30 on August 18th, when we might get lucky and it could be 102. But that's coming up, and I think it's. I just think it's. I love Calm. Have you been there? Have you taken your kids?
I love Calm.
I've only been to the light show twice.
I've been there once.
And I put it off for years. I was like, there are lights, and then you go, and you're like, oh. Yeah, it's a pretty cool place. The late Michael Barks actually volunteered there for a while because he wanted to feed wild animals. That's all I'm going to say about that. Bye, honey. Have a good time.
Don't let the bear eat you.
Exactly. It's exactly what Ooh, gosh, can't wait to see you drop that mouse into the snake pit. That'll be nifty. So I wasn't as excited about it as he was, but anyway. So just so you know, August 18, it's a little bit away. It's a couple weeks away. Maybe we'll get them in. These are the things I think about on the show and then forget about when we're not doing the show. Inga, why don't you have guests? I forget. So anyway, that's going on. I wanted to make sure you guys knew about it. There was an arrest made today of a brother who fatally stabbed his brother and then left him to die on Niles Street.
Oh, I think I heard about this.
And when I first saw that story, all I could think of was how I would kill for my siblings. Even when they drive me nuts. Do you have siblings?
Yes.
Are you close?
Yes and no. I mean, I have...
Would you stab them?
Depends on which one it was.
My mom talks to her sister almost every day. My dad and his brother quit speaking, I think probably about the time they both went to high school. They were done with each other already. But I don't talk to my sister a lot, but I love her. And I don't talk to my brother. Well, I talk to my brother every time I go over there, which is all the time. I just can't fathom a sibling stabbing a sibling. And I remember years ago there was a confrontation between a set of twins where one murdered the other one. And I've got twins. And the fights they've gotten in, holy cow. The black eyes, the busted lip, but they're boys. That's what they do. But they're there for each other. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It just made me sad. An altercation. So they disagreed on something, and this was yesterday. Led to the stabbing that left one of the men dead. The gentleman Ralph Valenzuela Jr., 32 years old, was arrested on suspicion of murder in the death of his brother, Richie Vincent Valenzuela. He was 30 years old. Remember being 30?
All those years ago.
Prime of life, as far as I'm concerned. Police learned Richie Valenzuela had been in a fight with his brother, began searching for him at about 5:15 p.m. last night. Well, obviously. Officers located Ralph Valenzuela Jr. on a block on Kern Canyon Road. Wow. And they arrested him. So Ralph Jr. is being held without bail, and there are 0 comments on the Bakersfield Californian's website about that. And so I guess I'm going to acknowledge the brother. I know many of you, most of you probably agree with me entirely. It's family. It's even if you don't like each other, it's family. At that funeral today, man, this couple, he used to be the head of our health department in Kern County. And mom was a teacher, as I said, and she's the one who passed away. But they had 3 daughters, and those daughters, they're beautiful women, and they love each other. You can see it. They just love each other. I just can't imagine. But you would stab somebody. Okay, Stabby McStabberson. So I'll call you Stabby McStabberson. You'd stab somebody.
I mean, let me tell you something. I love my siblings.
Of course, you have no choice.
But I can understand why somebody would stab them.
It's just horrible. It was horrible.
I'm just saying.
You know why they induced me into a coma when I had pneumonia? Do you know why? Because I was hallucinating like crazy, and I thought some woman was yelling at my brother for something he'd said, and I'm very protective of my brother, and as he is me, and I thought some woman in the lobby or something. The whole time he wasn't even there, and I was trying to write things because I had the tube down my throat so I couldn't talk. I was trying to write things, and I was writing things like lawyer, lawsuit. And they were like, you know what, maybe if we just punch up that morphine a little bit more, she might shut up. And then they had to figure out, maybe if we also tie her down. Yeah, those were the days. All right, we take a break. With that, I'll come back with something incredibly important. I'm sure of it, and we'll talk it out together. And I think I'm going to have some fries. So we'll be right back, broadcasting from the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame, which, by the way, you can tour. I did not know that. I saw that they have a donation box out at the desk today, and I said, who are we donating to? And she said, well, we don't charge people to come in and look. But if they, because people want to see Buck Owens' piano, which I didn't even know was in the building. So they asked people to just donate. But you can come down here and tour the place, and you should. Absolutely should.
Yeah, I've had people come walk by, look in the window.
Uh-huh.
What's going on in there?
Oh, no, you know what they're thinking as they walk by and look in our window? Clean and organized. Lovely decorations. Oh, a bunch of men must be in this room.
So true.
It is so true. We're definitely the animal house of the whole college, the whole fraternity here, or group of fraternities. All right, we'll be right back. Thank you to Kerncast. Thank you to Blue Sky Media, and look forward to talking to you on the other side of this break.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license does not go into suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
Introducing the new California State Penitentiary Bologna Sandwich. Jail food sucks. Don't let your family eat jail food.
Your home is perfect. Until it's not. We understand that life has its changes. As your family grows, we're here to help grow with you. Because taking care of your family is important to you and important to us. Your story starts here with Cornerstone Mortgage.
I choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
If the best criminal attorneys choose Patriot Bail Bonds, who would you choose?
Patriot Bail Bonds. We fight for your freedom.
You're back.
What did you do with my fan?
I didn't do anything with your fan.
You know you covet my fan.
Well,
Not this fan, the one that plugs into the computer.
Oh, that fan.
Yeah, that I have every day.
I don't know what happened to it.
Welcome back. Inga Barks here. You know, I did want to make one more comment about the taxes, and this is not a criticism of anybody in Kern County who supports the tax increase. For instance, Sheriff Youngblood, who I can say without doubt is a fiscal conservative, but he supports this tax increase. And so just something I want to encourage you to watch is the news stories are already starting to amp up with, like there's a story every day about crime, right, and all of that stuff, people stabbing their siblings and all of that. But I bet what you're going to find, and what I've been noticing already, is an increase in stories where the news agency says things like, the sheriff's department would have loved to have been there, but they just don't have enough manpower. They're gonna put these messages in your brain, and the sheriff. There's a story today that says that the substations are in trouble. Youngblood puts hope in the tax increase. Who does that not work for? That works for everybody. We all want that money. We all want good public protection. But having said that, you don't hear those stories all year round. You hear them at budget time. You hear them when there's a tax increase. They'll start breaking out the statistics about how many people can't be, about how long it takes for the police to respond. You get what I'm saying.
I can hear your fan on the microphone.
Then you can feel it.
So it's a.
All right, I'll stop doing it.
I don't know. Wait,
No.
I see your fan.
It's in there?
It's in there.
Oh, okay. What if I just do this? What does my face look like on the green screen when I do that? Oh, I like it. That's a good look for me. All right. So anyway,
Hey, you have some comments about this.
The tax increase?
Yeah. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Lance said they will have to pass another tax, 1 cent sales tax, to help pay for the utilities at the public building.
That's tragic.
The mighty.
But you're right. I mean, again, like I said the other day about this is what I expect to pay for. And this is how they hook us into paying more in taxes. Because I expect to be protected. I expect to have my roads. I expect the infrastructure, the water, the plumbing and the electrical infrastructure and all that. I expect that from my municipalities. So I'm already paying for that first, as far as I'm concerned.
He goes on to say it was very expensive to put something on the ballot. We looked into it when I was on the hospital board.
Oh.
So
really?
He has some firsthand knowledge about that.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. All three of my boys have been in petition gathering, and one of them even wrote a bill that was introduced by a Democrat. But it was a good bill. I can't remember what it's about, but
Mighty Michael Bigley says, "What happens if the county passes the 1% sales tax increase and Bakersfield does not? Will the BPD lose officers?"
Does the county kick down money to the city for the popo?
I don't know.
I imagine they do because the city's in the county, but I've never seen the police chief show up at a county supervisor meeting.
I'm wondering if they're separate entities.
Well, they are, and
then it'd have to be a separate issue.
The thing is with our city and county is there are places in this town, I kid you not, where the city workers are repaving the road, and then they hit a strip of county that's like 10 feet long, and they actually move the 10 feet and start resurfacing again on the other side. And so you've got all these county islands, and so that's where things get a little messy. But I'm not impugning the sheriff or anything, because I'm with the district attorney and all of that. I just, now that for the last couple of years, when I've hit the point where I'd love to give it to you, I just don't have it. You know, it's like talking to your children when they want the pair of Jordans or whatever is hip and cool. You know, I love you, kid, but we're going to have to hit the Walmart. I don't have it. And so when people flippantly say to me, well, then you won't have public safety. No, that should be the first thing I have. Whatever dollars are flowing into the Taj Mahal down there on Truxton Avenue should be supporting my sheriff's department and my district attorney's office and my whatever else protects me and my roads. So that's why I just encourage people to just notice the story. And it's not that the media is like pro-tax or anything. It's that they love a good press release. Let's face it, it's easier. Right?
Yeah, drama makes for good headlines.
It does. Well, that's true too. But I've heard entire newscasts in Kern County on radio done by people who I can tell by the way it's written. They're reading a press release. They don't even care what it's about. Somebody else did the work. Yada yada. So anyway, there you go. And I totally understand that the sheriff is stretched thin. I just don't have it. What? You're bored?
No,
You exhaled.
I exhale a lot.
It's always good.
It goes with breathing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can understand the issue. I mean,
Yeah.
I like I said, I spoke out at the board of supervisors.
Yes, you did.
And
Good for you.
and I told them, I said, I don't want my taxes raised either, but I want more officers on the road. I know one of the other hosts here who has suggested that maybe the board of supervisors forego some of their money, like some of their pay or some of their.
It won't amount to much. I mean, they clear. I think they clear 6 figures, and they have lifetime health care. It's a pretty sweet gig, but will it matter? Will it make a difference? If the need is that great, no. Drop in the bucket, it'll disappear somewhere and be spent on new chairs for everybody. I remember it's anecdotal, but everything in my life is, when the late great Michael Barks passed away, and there was a lot of stuff I had to do down at the Taj Mahal. There were, deeds to, the deed to the house, death certificates to retrieve. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I had to do. And I remember one day I went into one of the offices and I was envying the chair that a woman was sitting in that worked in the office. And as I'm standing there waiting to be served, these maintenance guys come in and they've got boxes and boxes of brand new ergonomic chairs for everybody. And I remember thinking, are you kidding me? You know what we all make do? Well, yeah, you do. You know what we make do with. Yeah. So, money just disappears into stuff. And a lot of it's mandated. So, it's as ridiculous as the plastic straw ban. Ooh, that makes me thirsty. Okay. Fires everywhere in California. Always worth noting. The Salvation Army is a great organization if you want to help people get on their feet. There have been, I think, not only 5 houses taken so far, because those are people's lives, That's a pretty big deal. So I've reached my limit for the Mercury News. Can you get the Mercury News up?
No, I cannot.
You cannot?
Well, I can bring it up, but then it keeps asking me if I want to subscribe.
Yeah.
And I'm not that interested in the Mercury News.
No, if I see a headline that interests me in like the LA Times, I'll Google it and find it somewhere else.
I will tell you this, being from the area where the Mercury News is from.
Yes.
The Mercury News is a much better newspaper than the one up north.
Sacramento Bee?
The San
Francisco Chronicle, The Gate?
The Chronicle.
Yeah. Is The Gate the Chronicle?
And then, in fact, I think they still have the Examiner, San Francisco Examiner.
Well, what this article that I cannot access without going to break and, working some magic, says that a recent bill, a trailer bill called AB 1810, says that the legislature improves to provide health care coverage to all Californians, which I thought we already had. But they're going to take all of the things. See, this is it. We need money for. We can give money to this, to that. Look, go to the state, type in boards or commissions and see how many there are and what their budgets are. It's amazing. And so here the state of California has decided that universal health care is so fantastic that everyone in California, legal, illegal, who cares? We're going British style, folks. And I guess there wasn't even a lot of debate. Of course, what debate would you have if you're a Republican? You don't have a voice anyway. But this, depending on how this works out, you lose choice. Everybody gets Medi-Cal, and I don't begrudge people on Medi-Cal, but I don't want to be on it. It's going to drive doctors out of the state. I'm having another surly, negative Nelly day.
Are you being salty again?
Salty. Oh, I'm salty. There was a lot of heat out there. A lot of sweating has happened.
I got an article here from the, what is this? The Daily Press.
Okay.
About AB 1810. It is a so-called budget trailer bill that when Brown signed it, it took effect immediately. One of its main provisions appears to give defendants a chance to have their charges dismissed and even evidence of their arrest erased from the record if they can convince a judge the crime they were arrested for was caused by a treatable mental disorder.
That's happening. That's happening. If you can show that you have, and who doesn't have a mental disorder these days? Who's not on meds for something? We were talking about that earlier. We're all in the spectrum somewhere these days. If you can show that you were not of sound mind, then you can get, instead of being put in a prison or even a prison for the mentally, lompoc kind of stuff, they'll release you and put you in a program. Yeah. Isn't that great? Paid for with tax dollars.
Oh my gosh.
Stab your brother? I was in duress.
It goes on to the bottom of the article. It says, not surprisingly, many in the law enforcement are outraged. San Diego County District Attorney Summer Stephan. I like this name.
What's the name?
Summer Stephan.
Is it a man or a woman?
Well, I'm hoping it's a woman, because with that name, it better be a woman.
It would be tragic if it weren't. But this Stephan.
Called AB 1810 the most irresponsible legislation our state has ever seen.
Yeah.
And told the San Diego Union Tribune that it would wreak havoc in our criminal justice system. AB 1810 is just another reason why it is time for a ballot initiative to reverse recent legislation that has given more rights to criminals than to its victims. Props 47 and 57 included.
Yep, absolutely. But included in that, so attached to it, is a gigantic trailer to give universal health care to people, and it went undebated. Boy, I remember when I was first in radio, we could spend the entire show talking about just one issue. And I think why we move around so much nowadays in this industry is that A, attention spans, but B, we've gotten so accustomed to the state especially, screwing us, that it's almost like I don't even want to tell you, because you're going to go, ugh, and then change a channel or whatever it is we have. Because you heard it already. You even if you didn't know about it, you knew it was going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So plastic straws are a criminal offense. Judge, I was under mental health care treatment at the time that I dispensed plastic straws to the entire community in Santa Barbara. Lithium made me do it, doctor. Judge. On Tuesday, the California Water Commission, this is Sacramento Bee, the California Water Commission completed a groundbreaking process to make the state's largest investment in water storage and in generation. Not generation of water, but the use of water, I'm guessing, for hydro. Okay. With the Commission's Act, 8 diverse projects around the state are in line to receive nearly $2.7 billion from Proposition 1. If I recall, Proposition 1 was like $11 billion. See? And then they're going to come back and say, we need more. We need more. Let's see. Proposition 1 approved in 2014. These projects, and by the way, I voted for it. We were in such dire straits for water in the Central Valley. I voted for a bond measure. I don't vote for bond measures, but I did vote for this one. And it has proven to be, it's proven me wrong. Let's see. Sacramento could add another 4.3 million acre feet of new water storage. Okay, all right. Hold on. Tom McClintock is the congressman up in that way, Sacramento way, where the state destroyed, was it 2 or 4 dams in the last couple of years because of environmental concerns. So they're going to give the area a couple of million, $4.3 million for new water storage, but that's just replacing what they tore down. I really can't stand these people. I really can't. Let's see. This is good news for California, says this opinion giver. This is good news for Californians because we desperately need more places to capture and store water. Absolutely true. During wet times to manage through the inevitable droughts. Climate change, which already is reducing the Sierra snowpack. Blah, 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 goes on. Do you remember the year that Governor Brown went up to the Sierras with the stick that they put in the ground so they could measure the snow, and he purposefully found a barren spot where there was no snow, and he had a whole press conference? No, there was snow. He just refused to capture it. So anyway, I'm feeling really angry all of a sudden. Could it have been the fries?
They were salty.
They were. I liked them. I liked them a lot.
My new term for you, salty.
Salty. That's me. That is definitely me.
You keep getting more and more comments about the sales tax.
Really, that's awesome. Your opinion's much more interesting than mine.
Lance came back and says, "Is the Bakersfield sales tax just for public safety?" I thought it was to fund unfunded liabilities, i.e. CalPERS. And then Renee came in and says the 1 cent county. Let me see if I get this right. The 1 cent county one.
She's in Oldale. You guys speak the same language.
The city. The 1 cent county one goes to law enforcement. The city one is CalPERS. CalPERS.
So so Renee answers Lance's question. Thank you, Renee. Appreciate that. What matter does it make? Because even when you hear the word law enforcement, how do you know that's not going to new desks? Right? Seriously. I don't know what it's specifically for. Can you hire long-term employees based on short-term funds? I don't know. So, and the issue of CalPERS, I'm a CalPERS. Do you have CalPERS anywhere in your life?
I have no idea what CalPERS is.
Oh, it's California Public Employee Retirement Fund. Retirement system. And I used to work for the schools.
That would be my wife.
Okay,
because she works for the child support services office.
Oh yeah. She might be a PERS. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. These local communities are so overwhelmed with their pension funds and trying to fund them. I mean, it's another great question. Are you really going to get police officers, or when they say it goes toward law enforcement, is it going to their retirement funds? And trust me, I do not begrudge you guys a retirement fund. It's just that, what have I been saying all day? I don't have it. I'm going to work till I'm 80 to pay for your retirement at 50. You know, and I don't begrudge you. You signed a deal. We made you a promise that now we have to pay for, and that's the problem with these politicians who vote for these promises, and then they have to back their own play, and they know that they're going to back their play with your money, that you've worked hard to earn.
And whose money?
Your money. Not mine. I'm too poor to even. Yeah, I walk into stores and people just give me stuff. That reminds me, even in this heat, I have in the last couple of days found 3 pennies in a parking lot. And they were hot, but I picked them up. And I'm thinking, I've seen homeless people walk past a penny on the ground. Like, I'm too good for a penny. I'm not. Thank you. Thank you for passing it over. They're in my purse. I pick up pennies. How can people walk past money?
I actually have an interesting story about pennies.
You do?
Yes.
Pray.
This guy told me one time that I was working with, and he would see a penny and he'd pick it up, and the rest of the coworkers were laughing at him, and so they started bringing pennies from home and throwing them on the ground. And he'd reach over and pick them up. They'd throw them on the ground. He'd reach over and pick them up, and he'd put them in his pocket, and they'd just laugh at him. And then all of a sudden one day he wasn't there, and they didn't know where he was. And about a week later he showed back up, and they go, "Wait, where were you?" He goes, "Well, I used all the pennies you gave me to go on vacation. It was really nice. Thank you very much."
I think that's awesome.
They never tossed pennies on the floor again.
That is so. They never toss pennies on the floor again?
Not after that.
I only get frustrated when people glue them down. That frustrates me because I want it. But yeah, I used to have. Now I used to entertain a lot. I don't anymore. But I had the Costco-sized bottles of Jack. And I put all the coins in the bottom of my purse in them, and then I became sentimental about the bottles. So over 10 years, I had 7 bottles that were full of change. And originally, no pennies were allowed, but then I decided to let the pennies in. And if it was in the bottom of my purse, if it was a $20 bill at the bottom of my purse, I put it in that Jack bottle until I had 7 of them full. And do you know how hard it is to get money out of a Jack bottle?
Was it easier than emptying the Jack bottle?
Well, I did not get to, trust me.
That's all I can think of.
I can drink whiskey, but I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question.
But how long did it take you to get out?
We had to duct tape the bottles and then break them, which broke my heart. You know, I was like, I'll start over. But I tell you this because over 10 years period of time, 7 bottles full of change. It was about $2,000, and I paid my taxes. So go ahead, throw the pennies down. I'm good. I don't have any Jack bottles anymore, but that's okay. I'll find a place to shove it. Wait, am I getting surly again?
Salty.
All right, let's go to. I was gonna say let's go to the bathroom. Let's go to a break, shall we? Let's take a break.
The heat's finally starting to get to us.
Oh, don't even say the word heat.
By the way, your fan's right out there, so you can just go get it during a break.
I will. Don't think I won't. All right, we'll take a break. Really what I want to find is another version of the story about universal health care in California. I'm having a tough time finding a like story. So I'll keep searching for that and get my fan. because I'm a mom. I can do everything at once. All right, so we'll take a break and be right back. I'm Inga. This is the Inga Barks Show. We are at the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame with Kerncast and Blue Sky Media and plastic straws, baby.
Patriot Bail Bonds has the best customer service in Bakersfield. Patriot has more 5-star ratings than any bail company in Kern County. Plus, we're fast and affordable. If you run into the law, make Patriot Bail Bonds your first call. That's right, one call, that's all.
If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail.
I choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
If the best criminal attorneys choose Patriot Bail Bonds, who would you choose?
Patriot Bail Bonds. We fight for your freedom.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license does not go into suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
Your home is perfect. Until it's not. We understand that life has its changes. As your family grows, we're here to help grow with you. Because taking care of your family is important to you and important to us. Your story starts here with Cornerstone Mortgage.
Well, howdy doody. I did not find the article I was looking for about healthcare in California, but I did find one article that reminded me of something. The headline is, with about 3 months until midterm, Democrats press hard on healthcare to nab swing voters. Are there swing voters on the issue of healthcare? Are there people who don't know who they're going to vote for that are actually persuaded by healthcare? Because if you think fiscally conservative, you don't like this plan. And if you think fiscally liberal, tax them all and let God sort them out, you already vote Democrat. So I don't know who they're trying to please with this, because I don't think there's anybody who's a swing voter on both sides on this issue altogether. Democrats see the Republican failure to repeal and replace. Yeah, it is a failure. It's a big, ginormous failure. And it was a promise that they didn't keep. Let's see. Meanwhile, a new poll shows that the public will hold the Trump administration and the GOP-led Congress responsible for any pain they feel from premiums this year. All right. I would blame the Republicans, but I'd still vote for them. I mean, what's the option? Way left California. Nobody wants to live like this. Nobody chooses to live like this. And, polls, I can take them or leave them. But that's me.
I actually did find something from the New York Times.
You did?
Yeah, I'm printing it out right now.
You are? Wow, you found my fan. You shared lunch with me, early dinner-ish snack. Now you're printing out an article. That is awesome. I appreciate it. I just think it's funny that the Democrats think this is a big hook for them with people who don't know how they're going to vote. And who are swing voters anyway? I don't know one swing voter. I know people who vote on the issues and on the character of the person that they're voting for. I don't know anybody who's a swing voter, but that's me. But that brings me to the games that are played. What's this Bernstein being yesterday, impeachment papers were presented. And then the Speaker of the House comes out, Paul Ryan comes out and says, I really don't care much for this idea. I'm not a participant in it. What's funny about that is it will get more attention than Nancy Pelosi pulling Maxine Waters aside and going, cool it, could you? They just look more like cats who need to be wrestled, in my opinion. What a ridiculous thing. Now, I'm not saying I like the guy. I'm saying I think he should be fired. But impeachment, I don't know what they're trying to do with that. Medicaid expansion reaches goal for ballot initiative. Look at that. Forbes magazine reported that this month, that they're in Arkansas, Iowa, California, Nebraska, Utah, and Idaho. They could follow the lead of voters in Maine who they actually went to the polls and voted to extend Medicaid. In California, it would be Medi-Cal. Wow, it's even in color. Now, this says RX Health Senior Single Payer. Does the X in RX mean no sexual preference in your prescriptions?
I think it means that certain drugs are gender neutral.
Well, what do you do with Viagra?
I try not to take it.
I support that. I support that. Let's see. And so this is New York Times, huh? Mm-hmm. Right on. If wholesale opposition to President Trump is one litmus test for progressive Democrats, another, as the governor of California's race is proving, is health care. Is that really the first thing you think about when you... I don't even think about Russia when I think about government. I don't think it even polls. It's another example of the media telling you what news is important to you, which is why I don't watch a lot of news on TV. All of the leading Democrat contenders in the June 5 primary. Oh, so this was written in May. Have pledged support for a single-payer system run by their state. The front-runner, Gavin Newsom,
tell us how you really feel.
I just, you hit an age where you no longer look in the mirror or in the windows to see how your hair's doing, you know what I mean? Like, I avoid the windows and the doors in this building. When I'm standing outside waiting for them to let me in, I stand in such a way that I never have to see my own reflection. You just hit an age where you stop being impressed. I remember sitting at dinner once with a 20-something-year-old, and there was a mirror over my head in the restaurant, mm-hmm. And I watched her. Gavin Newsom's he's that guy. He's that guy who still looks at himself, you know what I mean? And says, yeah. So gross. Let's see. The front-runner, Lieutenant Gavin Newsom, the former mayor of San Francisco, has made it a centerpiece of his campaign. Well, you certainly wouldn't make your campaign the center of your campaign, I'll do for you what I did for San Francisco. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to wait around on universal health care and single payer in California. Doctors are going to flee the state because they're not going to get reimbursed. And then they're going to come back and ask you for more money that you don't have. There's no, this is why I say no every time I'm asked for money. Pretty much. They're panhandlers in suits.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it just came to me. That's what they are. They're panhandlers in suits. Let's see. Even beyond California, many Democrats hope to energize supporters by taking a cue from Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential run, which embraced the single-payer Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders did not win. Of course, Hillary helped that, but his ideas did not win. Voters are thinking about the fundamental values associated with single payer, said Kelly Hall, an independent health consultant who works for the Service Employees International. Oh, the SEIU. Nice. Health workers in California, which has endorsed Mr. Newsom. Of course they have. Almost zero voters have thought about the policy implications, says this person. No, I think they haven't. I think that they haven't. And I've known people on Medi-Cal. I'm sure you guys have known people on Medi-Cal. They're fine, they're healthy, they eventually get in to see a doctor. But imagine 38 million of us. 38 million of us, where the state is saying, we don't know if we're going to reimburse this. We just don't know. I had a girlfriend, doctor. I'm sure I've told you this before, so I apologize. She was a doctor. She was also an assemblywoman in the state of California for one term. She couldn't take it. She could not take it. And anyway, she was a doctor who dealt with rural women. That's hard to say, rural women, and breast cancer. And so she would diagnose, she would treat, and she actually moved about because it was hard for these women who lived in the valley in really, just rural areas to even find a doctor. They'd drive hours and hours to see a doctor. So she moved around a bit, make herself available, and she had to end up, because most of her patients were Medi-Cal, she had to end up doing Botox injections to fund her malpractice insurance. And when that didn't make, because she wasn't reimbursed, she couldn't get reimbursed by Medi-Cal. And she wasn't going to turn people away. She's a doctor, right? Do no harm, et cetera, et cetera. So she started doing the Botox, and it still wasn't enough to pay for. If you pay cash for a mammogram, for instance, it can be $90, it could be $60, depending on where you are. If your insurance pays for it, it's more likely going to be in the hundreds. And Medi-Cal doesn't operate that way. They go, nah, we think we'll give you 10. And so she eventually left the country. So she could go, she actually lived on a, what are those islands outside of Hawaii? They're not Solomon Islands. Samoa? American Samoa?
That seems all right, American Samoa.
So she could actually treat people. It's gross, really, really gross. People have not thought about the implications. In this case, implications could be another word for booby traps. I like it. Makes me think of Goonies. It's booty trapped. Are you working with me on this, kids? Do you remember that?
It's a booby trap.
I thought he said booty.
You mean booby traps. That's what I said, booty traps.
I love Goonies. I'm going to have to watch that. I also have a hankering right now for the Breakfast Club. In this case, implications could be for booby traps. And even a state as big, wealthy, and liberal as California, with the world's 5th largest economy and nearly 40 million people, would find itself hamstrung by money. A legal and regulatory thicket, yep, because they'll be mandated. It's terrible. So they're talking about 20% of California's economy going into a single payer system. I don't know who any of these people are or what they're thinking when they're demanding universal health care. They must have come from some pretty awful places if they really truly believe that we can afford to give everybody health insurance. You know what I do? I live without it. And look at how healthy I am. Well, the teeth are good anyway. The teeth are good. We were talking earlier about Pixar, and this is a less important issue than those, of the world and all that stuff. But we were talking earlier about Pixar, and who did you say they sold to Disney? But didn't Disney break away from them?
Okay. they originally signed a contract. This is what from what I'm remembering, but Disney and Pixar originally signed a contract where Pixar would make movies and Disney would distribute them, and toward the end of that contract, Pixar realized how
speaking of
booty. And so John Lasseter, who was the head of Pixar at the time, basically said, hey, we want to own more of our own intellectual property.
Yeah.
And that became the issue, the big issue between Pixar and Disney, because Disney wanted to keep the rights, and of course, because they know how smart that is. You own a franchise, and but so did Pixar. They understood the same thing, and there was at one time the thought process that Pixar was going to leave Disney and actually join up with either DreamWorks or Warner Brothers,
which also makes sense. But the DreamWorks stuff didn't he do like Polar Express? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a different kind of animation. It's just a different way that they do it. I'll tell you what, though, Pixar had me the first time I saw that jumping lamplight. They had me at the lamplight, and then they showed me the commercial. Well, I was thinking about it today because of so many great movies that have come from Pixar, and one of my favorite movies of all time ever is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is not Pixar, correct?
Correct.
It's Warner Brothers. No, it's Disney. No, it's...
It's time for Goose to check.
Oh no, it's okay. You don't have to do that. I was just thinking about it today, and what a great breakthrough film that was. Like Jurassic Park, when you saw that water jiggle. I mean, it was, and the sound was surrounding you. That was just incredible. But I'm a Roger Rabbit kind of gal, so I love that. So I was just thinking about it today. I think the best time to grow up in the movie world was the 80s and early 90s because we had John Hughes.
That's true.
Now all the teen movies are about getting eaten up by your computer or getting murdered by your neighbors in a purge, or we had Friday the 13th, don't get me wrong, and we had Nightmare on Elm Street. That was scary.
Now, I have something interesting to tell you.
Yes.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Okay.
Who was most noted for, at the time, directing Back to the Future.
Correct. Incredible.
The production companies were Touchstone Pictures, Amblin Entertainment, and Silver Screen Partners 3. Here's the interesting part. Touchstone Pictures was owned by Disney.
Huh?
It was one of Disney's side production companies, so that they could do movies like Roger Rabbit and not have it with the Disney brand attached to it. So that answers one of the questions we were talking about, because we were wondering, how did Roger Rabbit end up
at Disney? Disney.
So
I love Toontown. I think they got rid of it, didn't they?
No, it's still there.
Oh, okay.
It's still there. As a matter of fact, the Roger Rabbit ride's still crazy.
It's the greatest.
It's one of the best rides.
The only one that I would say that I like better, besides, of course, the Haunted House and Pirates of the Caribbean, where you get to sit for lengthy times and do nothing. That's always nice. But the Zog, To Infinity and Beyond.
That's Buzz Lightyear.
The Buzz Lightyear ride, where you get to shoot things.
Oh yeah,
that is so awesome. That is just absolutely fantastic.
And there's your movie lesson for today.
But I was thinking today that what a great time I had to grow up, because I got, not only Roger Rabbit in my early 20s, but I got to. I was 16 when 16 Candles came out. I benefited from John Hughes. Those movies were great, and they were happy movies. Some of them were a little. St. Elmo's Fire might have been a little dark at times, but they were not what young people have today. That's all, in my opinion. But that's just me. You guys got all those video games now too, so you don't need Roger Rabbit anymore. I'm sorry, did I?
The way you said that made me worry. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I was breaking out in tears that the kids don't know Roger Rabbit. It breaks my heart. There are more than one fire now. There has been an arrest made in SoCal, in Riverside County, of the person who set the fire that destroyed 5 houses, and that's good. I'll never understand why anybody would purposefully set a fire, but I don't have that. I don't get horny over setting fires. Oh wait, I got a lighter in the chair. I don't know where it came from, but it's here. Anyway, so just thought I'd mention it. People's power are out. They've evacuated their homes, and that's all the good news I have for you today. So, I like this headline. Sober living, modern family, or big business? Big business.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, modern family or big business?
Big business.
Yeah.
You see those commercials where the guy, I used to be an addict, I'm not anymore. I personally chose, 300 different sober living centers that you can call me for free and I'll give you the information. Really, for free? Well, because I've charged all those sober living people, businesses, to pay me to say that I like them. Yeah, no, I'm not down with that. But that's a John French. It's a John French thing.
John's supposed to be in tomorrow to do his show.
Oh, lovely.
We've negotiated for him to do at least his first show tomorrow, and then we're going to hopefully see if we can get him on Tuesday. Bless you.
Carry on.
To do his bless you.
Thank you.
To do his regular time slot. But the poor guy is like the first day we were to premiere his show, he got sick, and then the second time we were going to premiere his show, he had work, yeah. which does happen, So
it certainly does, but it's one of the nice things about a podcast. You can replay, you can be a little late. Who was I talking about? So anyway, that's it. Oh, look at that. California will see little of the $12 billion federal farm aid. Okay.
And that's a big surprise?
No.
No.
California didn't vote for Trump. I mean, really. Do you think that President Obama really flew out here to look at our drought? No. He looked at the drought after doing his monument thing for Cesar Chavez. He was flying out here to appease a certain group of people, and then he, took a little jaunt over to Fresno right before going to Palm Springs for a lovely game of golf.
I thought he was here to have a photo op with Dolores Huerta.
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want a photo op with Dolores Huerta? If John Cox wins, the governor, will he be able to identify himself as a man? Cox.
Not going there.
There's so much news, kids. So much news. And I messed around with you today. Today's After All my Friday. And I had that little funeral thing I had to do. And so I'm, it's been a bit of a melancholy day. But, I'm certainly glad and absolutely privileged to be here with you. Former GOP congressman wants an official ban on non-citizens voting in California.
What?
Aren't they not supposed to vote if they're not a citizen? Now, I don't know, maybe residents, because people do, I've known people who've never gotten their citizenship, but they had residency. Maybe that's what this person's talking about. But heck, we now have illegal immigrants serving on city councils. We have people illegally in this country refuse to become citizens of this country who we give a license to practice law to. So what can you do? San Francisco's decision to remove citizenship status as a requirement for those voting in school board elections or a former Sacramento congressman said yesterday that he's going to work to change that state law. Good luck with that. So San Francisco, I guess, they can vote on local issues, school boards and stuff like that, just not for president. Mm-hmm. If you're not a citizen, you don't get to vote. I'm sorry. In fact, I wish fewer people voted. I know everybody talks about getting out there and voting, go vote, and I'll probably feel that way in November, but generally speaking, if you don't care, or you don't like it, or you're disgruntled, or you don't know what's on the ballot, I'd just prefer you stay home. I wouldn't tell you to, because I think it's your right to vote however you want to if you're a citizen of this great nation. But I can see saying when people say to me like, I didn't vote, I go, okay, that's fine with me. If it did not matter enough for you to get up and go get that flippin' sticker on your shirt, then I'm glad you didn't vote, because it means you didn't prep. So. So I'm pretty much in that lane. All right, so we will say goodbye for the day, and I will see you again on Tuesday, and I'll miss you in between. Of course, I'll catch you on Facebook, no doubt. And we have Denise coming up after moi, and nobody after her, right?
That is correct.
If we wanted to. Oh, no, they shut down at 6, huh? You've got a key.
Yeah, I do have a key, and
the passcode.
They've actually let me stay late, so
yeah.
If I wanted to, I probably could run another show. But
I could see having like a slumber party on here.
Nothing would get done. You'd have to bring in those bottles of Jack.
I don't have any. In fact, I need to go to Costco. Anyway, yeah, they were. Paid the taxes. All right, kids, you have a wonderful weekend. Goose, thanks so much for putting up with me today. You're really the only one who has to.
But I enjoy it.
Well, as you should. And I don't just say that to anyone.
I have too much fun here, you know that, right?
It's a fun gig. It's a fun gig. Thank you for the article that you found me, and thank you all for playing along. And I'll see you next week, broadcasting here from the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame. I'm Inga. It's so anticlimactic the way I say goodbye, because I'm tired. You can tell I'm starting to go, Anyway, what am I saying?
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys on the other side. Love you much. Bye.